Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we'll continue with part 160 of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe project. So in the previous lesson, I spent some time finishing off the lens over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on this surface fillet, on the hood over here. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is, I already have a fillet over here. So I'm just going to, first of all, let's go ahead and trim it. So let's just grab a project tool, and I'm just going to project these two surface edges. I'm just going to trim it like that, and let's figure out what the size is. Looks like it's a surface fillet of 50, and I'm going to just extend it all the way through here and see how that fits. So I'm just going to grab a surface fillet over here. It's going to be cord, it's going to be G2, and I'm just going to size it as a 50. Form factor will be 1. And for these ones, I think I can just leave it on auto for now. And let's see how that builds. Okay, so looks like that builds it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check if the sizing is good. So this is the fillet that I have. So I'm going to try and match this over here. I think the size is it's a little bit skewed this way, so I might have to do a little bit of that. So I might do a little bit of shift, but that really depends. Now, do I really want to shift that? I'm not quite sure. Because to be honest, I think, well, maybe I do. So let's just match it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, essentially duplicate the curves over here, and I'm going to try to shift it a little bit towards this way. So it's a little bit balanced. So let's go ahead and undo this one over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this curve over here like this. And let's go ahead and make it a little bit shorter over here. This, just extend it that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap this one over here, and I'm going to snap it over here. Now, of course, it's a little bit skewed over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend it over here, and I'm going to try to shift it this way so that they match. So I should probably keep a curvature along here. So what I'm going to do is just align this curve like this, and I'm going to make a curvature. Actually, you know what? Making a curvature looks like it should fit nicely over here. It might, actually, you know what? It doesn't. If that's okay, so let's see. That could be just due to the CV structure. So I'm just going to pull this one a little bit over here. That's actually not the best. Since that's what I have, I'll just work with it. Oh, that actually looks very bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can just use the stretch tool to snap it over here like this, and I'm just going to make it positional and see if that's enough. Now that probably means I probably have to make some adjustments. I think the reason why it does this is, of course, that's why. Okay, so if that's okay, so let's I'm going to try and rebuild this because that's not a good surface over here. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm just going to untrim over here like this. I'm not quite sure if this is good. It is a surface fillet, but I think Bezier might have been off. So let's do this. I'm just going to grab a surface fillet over here. And let's just make it default on all sides. And I'm going to just do that. Okay, of course, this is a little bit down, which I don't like. And I'm going to, for this one, I'm just going to turn Bezier surface on, and that's a little bit better. I'm wondering if it might be just better if I were to adjust this one a little bit down. Now, I don't think I really want to rebuild this one over here. Although I could. Let's just check. So right now, another option would be just to extend it over here. Maybe just make it extend over here and just trim it like this. But I'm not quite sure if that's the best idea. Another thing I can do is just make it edge align like this and just trim it. But as you can see over here, the CV structure is not that great. I think this might require a little bit of curve. So maybe I'll just do that. I think this fillet over here looks pretty good. To be honest, I don't like having a shifted like this. I prefer a more gradual shift. but this one maybe that might not be a bad idea. So what I'm going to do is, let's just do this. I'm just going to make it edge align on the interior, and I think, well, let's see. I'm going to see if I can just do auto and see if it'll align. Actually, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to delete this one over here like that, and let's just leave that as is. Now I do need to make sure to check. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's oh, actually, I'm just going to rebuild this one. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to do that, and let's go ahead and see if I can just connect the two. Freeform blend. It's going to G2 on both sides, just so that it lines up nicely. And I'm just going to make sure that it is curvature. It might not be, but let's check if it is. Right. Okay, so this side is curvature, that's curvature, that's curvature. That is not curvature, but this one is going to be a little bit difficult to match just because the edge over here flows like this. So this one might be a little bit challenging, but let's go ahead and take a look, see if I can get it to be curvature. Actually, you know what? I think I should be able to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, first of all, delete the construction history over here. I'm going to grab the CV over here like this. Transform CV, NUV, and I'm just going to set the mouse sensitivity to 5000. And let's see if I can just pull it like this. Actually, you know what? I think I can. Oh, actually, you know what? That's failing. So I'm just going to drag this until that doesn't fail, and I'm going to drag this side. And that's starting to fail, so let's go ahead and grab the tangent side. And there it is. So I got curvature on all sides, and that looks pretty good. All right, so that's that. And what I'm going to do is just delete the construction history like this. And I do need to piece this together. So actually, this CV structure is not horrible, but I would prefer to match it over here. So there are a couple of things I can do. I can try to shift the lens down over here, which would mean I would have to rebuild all of this, which might not be a bad idea because that actually might eat into some of the fillet, weird filleting over here. So maybe I'll just do that. Let's take a look. Now let's see, untrim. I'm just going to untrim. The distance over here isn't too bad. Now shifting it down a little bit over here, that's going to make it a little bit more biased, but that's not too bad either. Now the simplest solution would be just to intersect between the two. You know what? Let's take a look. Well, you know what? Before I do anything, let's just check the size though. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn into yeah, that looks pretty good. Although I think it might need to be a little bit bigger. Well, it's kind of hard to tell just because of the area over here. Because of the cut line, because of the hood cut line, it's kind of hard to determine if the fillet size is big enough. But considering the progression over here, that might not be bad. However, I'm starting to think that maybe I need to make it just a little bit bigger, in which case that would also affect the lens size over here. Let's see. I do think the transition looks a little bit harsh from the top. Let's just take a look at the canvas over here. Yeah, that has a, it's not perfect, to be honest, compared to the canvas image over here. You say that this is going a little bit inboard, which creates a little bit of a harsh transition over here. So one thing I can do is I can try to make this a little bit bigger as it goes toward the front side. Maybe I'll just do that. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I think I'm just going to get rid of these two over here. And I think, let's see, I'm just going to untrim over here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger as it goes towards the front. Actually, if that's the case, I wonder if that's a bad that is a bad idea to just delete it, because I think at least to up to maybe midpoint here, I can probably just keep the size as is. So let's do that. I'm just going to keep this over here like this, and I think that's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this back over here. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just extend it back. So I'm just going to extend it back over here like this. And I'm just going to spread apart the fillet over here. So I'm just going to delete the COS. Now, to be honest, there aren't a lot of things that I can do about the discrepancy over here unless I completely rebuild the whole thing, which I do not want to do. There are some subtleties that I probably should have paid attention a little bit more to, but it's not horrible. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. However, I do want to make the transition a little bit softer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably make the fillet a little bit bigger over here, and I'll probably keep the size over here as well. So let's go ahead and do this. So I just created a curve like this, and I'm just going to make it a nice, make it a little bit bigger. Now I probably don't want to encroach too much into this. But let's just check to make sure that it is actually curvature, because right now it is positional over here, which should be all right. So I think that's pretty good over there. I'm just going to make the fillet a little bit bigger as it goes towards the outboard side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project this one over here in Z. Let's do that, and I'm just going to untrim over here. Or not trim, not untrim. I'm going to trim, and let's make the canvas a little bit lighter so it doesn't interfere. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim the surface over here. Okay, and let's go ahead and do a fillet over here. So what I'm going to do is well, let's do this. There's actually a tool. I'm going to test this out. It's called a profile blend tool, and what you can do is you can just set it as a curvature over here, and I can click this one over here as a well, actually, you know what, let's see, what do I need to do? Input curve. Okay, so I'm going to put an input curve over here, and I'm going to see if I can do a profile. Oh, maybe I need to do this first. Okay, it's going to be one over here, accept, and I'm just going to pick the profile, which is this one, and that's actually not giving me the result I want. So, well, I'll scrap that. Okay, so if that's the case, I'll just do a birail. So it's going to be 1 and 2 over here. I'm just going to do a rebuild because it won't build for me. I'm just going to snap it over here. And I'm just going to make sure that it's curvature on both sides. But with this one, let's do this. I'm going to just use a blend curve over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, the blend curve does have to snap over here and become a curvature. But for this one, I'm just going to drag it along this side. And that retains curvature over here and curvature over here. But because there's no edge over here, it just floats like this. However, it should be curvature to the surface. So let's test it. So I'm just going to do a square. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to say 1 is going to be curvature, 3 is going to be curvature, and it looks like that works. Okay, so I'm just going to do a rebuild, and that should work nicely over here. And now let's build the fourth side. So what I'm going to do is, again, grab a blend curve over here. I'm going to snap it over here, and I'm going to also snap it over here. Okay, and let's just make sure it is curvature. So I'm just going to snap it over here like this, and this one. Looks like this one isn't working. Let's try that again. So blend curve. I'm going to snap it on this edge over here. What is this plane? I don't know why there is a plane over there, but whatever. Okay, so let's try it again. Snap it over here, and I'm going to snap it over here. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to say edit, make sure it's curvature. Okay, so it looks like that's a little bit better. It's a little bit larger than before, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a square in. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. the square. Okay, so it looks like it's failing. It's probably because it's not aligned properly. So I'm just going to align it with align. And I'm just going to align this side as well. There we go. Okay, so that was the issue. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. No, actually, that doesn't look better. The curve is a little bit off, so let's do it again. So I'm just going to delete that. Let's isolate it so that it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm just going to grab a blend curve over here. I'm going to snap it over here, and I'm going to snap it here. Okay, so it looks like it does require a little bit of refinement. Let's make sure that it is. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a square in there. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's a little discrepancy, but overall not too bad. I think that's just due to it's probably not aligned perfectly, which is fine. Yeah, okay, so you see the shift. So okay, so I might have to do a little bit of adjustment then. Okay, but I'm still going to make a curvature over there, and let's just shift these two. So I'm just going to say auto scale G2 so that it's a little bit easier to shift. I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to take a look at the CV structure and make sure it's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an explicit control because right now there are too many degrees, and I'm just going to set it up like that. And I'm just going to make sure that 4 is also curvature. And looks like there wasn't too much shift in CV, so that's good. And then just in case, I'm just going to, yeah, there we go. Boundary blend works. And that's actually not too bad, but I think I'm going to spread it apart just a little bit more so that the progression of the CVs is a little bit better. Actually, you know what? If you see this CV flow over here, you see that it's not exactly matching over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn auto scale G2 off, and I'm going to shift this one first, and I'm going to shift this one separately so that everything lines up nicely like that. And I think I'm just going to do the same thing over here as well. So I'll just shift these two over here so that everything lines up nicely. It should retain curvature continuity or not. But if that's the case, let's just take a look at why it's off. So I'm just going to check the continue over here. That's interesting. Okay. So as far as the CV structure goes, I think it's looking pretty good. However, the continuity requires a little bit of work. And as far as the transition goes, I think it's a lot smoother than before. So I'm happy with that. So previously, I think it was a little bit abrupt, but I think this one is a little bit better as it spreads apart this way. So I think that's looking better. However, that does mean I probably I just trimmed this one. You know what? I think I'm probably just going to end up just trimming it instead of having to rebuild all of these. Now, if you do want the theoreticals to match, of course, you could do that. But, well, depending on how much time you have, you could do that, or you can just leave it as is. For me, I think I'm just going to trim it like that. All right, so let's take a look. The continuity does have an issue. There is a little bit of continuity issue, so I'm just going to make sure that the curvature continuity is on, and I'm just going to grab a line over here. I'm just going to align this one over here like this. I'm going to say partial. Okay, so it looks like it's 1.0. I don't know why it does that, but position influence is set to max takes care of that. I'm going to make sure that it is edge though over here. And let's do the same thing over here. And that was pretty easy. Make sure that's edge, and that takes care of that. Okay, so to be honest, I don't think I really need to do anything on that. So I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And let's do one more thing, because right now this doesn't match. So I'm just going to extend the surface over here like this so that I can trim it. Now there is going to be a fillet over here that eventually will travel through here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to spend a lot of time trimming all of these like super cleanly. So I'm just going to grab all of these. I'm going to intersect right here, and I'll just call that done. So I'm just going to trim here, trim this one over here, and trim that one over here. And that creates a nice, it's not super you'll see that it's a little bit abrupt through the center, and that is because this surface has a lot bigger fillet than this one. That's why. But to be honest, I don't think, well, if you want to match it, what you can do is you can basically move this line over here and move this line a little bit over here, and that'll take care of that. A little bit thickness variation over here. That'll make it a little bit more constant. However, I don't think it looks that terrible, so I think I'm just going to leave it like that and just call it done. All right, so I think that's looking pretty good. However, I am going to trim this one though, and I'm just going to make sure that it follows nicely through here. So let's go ahead and grab a curve over here. I'm going to snap it over here like this, and I'm just going to project this one over here like that. Let's make it view. I'm just going to get rid of that, trim it, and now I'm just going to put a rail through here, so it's going to be 1 and 1, and that looks good. Now as far as the trimming goes, I'm going to leave that for a little bit later, because eventually I will put in all the class A details such as fillets and flanges. So I'll just leave that at, why doesn't that match? That's interesting. Okay, so well, it's not matching, so let's make sure it matches. So first of all, let's delete that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this one. I'm just going to align a tangent because that might do something funny over here. It might break the positional continuity, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And partial will actually need to be turned off, and I'm going to make sure that it's edge. All right, so that takes care of that. So now let's just make sure that it didn't break positional continuity over here. It did, so I'm just going to leave this one over here like this, and I'm just going to align a position like that. And let's see, why is it? Oh, there we go. Well, it looks like positional continuity or positioning influence actually affected it negatively. So I'm just going to leave it like that, and that should be good. We got a nice progressive positional peak over here, and it disappears nicely into this one. Eventually, there will be a fillet running through, so that will take care of that. Okay, so now this is actually lined up to the edge. I'm just going to untrim this piece over here like that, and let's go ahead and connect the dots from here to here like this, and I'm just going to project this one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and trim, and let's go ahead and just put a rail over here. I'm going to turn current segments off, and for this one I'm just going to make it parallel, and I'm just going to make sure that it is curvature, and that looks good. Eventually, like I said, I'll have to do a class A details, which means I'll have to do all the gappings and stuff. So I'm just going to leave that over here like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Much better transition than before. I think it's spreading apart is a little bit better than before. It's a nice transition over here. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so in the next lesson, I'll probably go ahead and get started in the hood. So yeah, we'll start that in the next one. All right, so that is it for part 160. We will continue in the next tutorial, and thank you guys for watching. Want to learn more? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you will find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including card creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the interior car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.